Alex Zhavoronkov. I'm the founder of In Silico Medicine. And before that, I was in technology. So I was a technology entrepreneur. And before that, I was born in Latvia, in Riga. I emigrated to Canada, became Canadian. I got my first two bachelor degrees at Queen's University and worked for a number of semiconductor companies. One of them was a brilliant Canadian company called ATI Technologies, which was later acquired by AMD. It's a semiconductor company which competed with NVIDIA, and made a little bit of money at the time and decided to spend the rest of my life and the rest of my money studying aging. Because I think that aging is the most important problem that any of us have. You may agree or disagree what is more important, choosing the right bathroom or, something else, or fighting with somebody. But the real enemy all of us have is aging. So I got very convinced that this is the grand goal, that if you set this for yourself, other goals become achievable. And did my graduate work at Johns Hopkins, worked for a number of biotechnology companies. And then at the dawn of the deep learning revolution, when deep neural networks started outperforming humans in image recognition, voice recognition, text recognition, and many other tasks, I started doing work in that area. And some of my friends who kind of migrated from ATI to NVIDIA at some point in time, in 2014, invited me to present at NVIDIA GTC conference. And I went there to give a talk about AI-powered target discovery, how to basically discover novel insights into disease biology using deep neural networks. And that's how the company got started. So basically out of the NVIDIA GTC conference. And since then, 10 years, more than 10 years within Silico, published some of the really important work in generative AI for biology, chemistry, and medicine. We now have a number of clinical stage drugs that were derived out of generative AI. And many of those drugs are targeting age-related diseases, of course, with the hope that they could be repurposed for aging. So I am very, very focused on biology in time, right? So biology doesn't happen statically. It happens in time. And if you look at humans or any other animals, life happens between 2 points, right? Cradle to the grave. And deep neural networks represent a very powerful tool that can help you track those changes of growth, adulthood, and then decline and death. And unless you understand that, you would not be able to research diseases and understand disease biology at scale. So I think that nowadays we're witnessing a convergence of AI, biology, chemistry, medicine, and aging research. And we try to be at the forefront of all of those 4 areas and, of course, produce valuable research in this field.
What do you consider the biggest achievement or breakthrough so far in your career?
So I think that my most important achievement to date was the fact that one of our drugs that we've discovered using generative AI and aging research went into phase 2 human clinical trials. So the probability of that happening is very low. Usually, if you understand how drugs are discovered and developed, and I can briefly explain that process if you like, the probability of getting a novel target, so novel protein that has never been studied in human clinical trials before, with a novel molecule that disables that protein, binds to it selectively and to nothing else, and is reasonably safe, going to phase 2 human clinical trials from scratch, it's very rare. usually that process takes decades, fails 99.99% of the time if you start with a novel biological mechanism, and costs billions of dollars. Usually it's performed by different separate teams. It's usually performed in different companies. Target discovery usually happens in academia. So for a company to undertake a challenge like that, to take a new protein target implicated in a specific disease, design small molecule with the desired properties, take it all the way through the many preclinical experiments, so hundreds of different studies demonstrating that technology worked, and then come up with a phase 1 clinical trial to show that the molecule is safe, and then take it into the phase 2 human clinical trials where you're actually giving it to humans, to patients. That is very rare, and we have done that. So of course, we took many other drugs into human clinical trials, but this one is truly a highlight. And we published a Nature Biotechnology paper explaining how we did that. So actually providing very transparent insights into the process. I think that's kind of my magnum opus to date. Hopefully not the last one. And as they say in the Middle East, inshallah, hopefully we will see positive results from phase 2. It still might fail, but I have to be hopeful and optimistic. Even what we have achieved to date with AI is pretty impressive. Company has evolved. So we went through several stages of evolution over the past 10 years. So we were born as a pure play artificial intelligence company where we designed artificial intelligence models to solve different problems in biology and chemistry and in clinical medicine, and for other companies to enjoy. Later, we launched a software platform. We call it Pharma AI, which allows you to go from the very early stages of drug discovery. So it allows you to formulate disease hypotheses and understand protein targets that are driving the disease. Because, for many diseases, we don't know why they happen. For example, Alzheimer's, we still don't know. Many cancers, we don't know, unknown origin. And we don't know how to treat them and which proteins are important and which proteins are driving the disease. So we have software that allows you to solve those kind of problems. We also have software that allows you to solve chemistry problems. For example, if you are looking for a chemical that can disable a certain protein target, right? So you kind of found that criminal that is driving the disease, and now you're trying to arrest that criminal. So to do that in the body, you need to create a molecule, a drug, like think aspirin, right? Also a small molecule drug. That can disable that protein target. And there are many, many ways to do that. One way is to look for a needle in a haystack and test many, many different molecules available from molecular libraries and try using trial and error and sometimes robotics, try to identify something that may work. Or you can use advanced generative AI that can create perfect needles, that can create molecules that actually don't exist in known chemical space. So you basically rely on AI imagination to find molecules that fit all your criteria of a perfect drug. So we've developed software like that, launched it on the market, and people are using that at scale. We also have systems that allow you to predict and analyze clinical trials, so understand how clinical trials are designed, whether they are going to fail or succeed, how to design them better. We also provide this kind of software. And of course, we also develop software that sometimes we open source that allows you to research aging at scale. For example, just recently, we put out a very large aging model. I like to call them life models, kind of world models, but for life, for biological systems. That is trained on previously disconnected data types, different biological data types, like you probably know what omics is. So multi-omics platform that tracks methylation, transcriptomics, proteomics, and other biological data types that you can collect from different people in the course of their lives, usually sick people. We only use public repositories for this kind of data. We don't collect personal data. And we train global models that help you understand aging process and also understand how those biological data types are related to each other in time. So basically, think of it as creating digital twins that you can age with an age dial. And see how people change in time, how mice change in time, monkeys change in time. So we have some of those platforms out as well. But the most important part of our business is drug discovery. So we actually use that same software to design molecules with the desired properties for targets that we've identified that may work in certain diseases. And then we actually test and develop them all the way to human clinical trials.
Wow, it's great. Thank you so much for sharing us your story. And also, I know you are building a very successful aging research community. So could you tell me the conference you organize every year?
Well, thank you for this question because it's very dear to my heart and to my lungs and to every other organ because aging does not spare anything. I think that aging research is incredibly important social problem because currently we don't know how to control it, and most of the diseases that humans get transpire at the end of life. As a matter of fact, most of the money you spend on healthcare happens you spend at the end of life. I don't think there is any other problem that is more important than aging. If you solve this problem, you will ameliorate the economic burden of aging and healthcare. You would be able to completely transform the society where people will have more long-term view on the environment, on the society, on peace, for example. Currently, our lifespans are just dramatically short. But also, aging research represents a great platform for drug discovery because all of the biological processes then they happen in time, and you can actually look at aging as biology in time. That's how I look at it. And I recognized a problem that our industry had about a decade ago, that the big pharmaceutical companies and academics and startups operating in chronic diseases and also in aging research, they were very disconnected. So they couldn't speak with a common voice. They couldn't exchange ideas in a specific platform setting where they are allowed to talk about aging research at scale without being called, quirks and charlatans and magicians. And actually, there are many of those in our industry. And also at the level of very high scientific standards. So I started organizing the ARDD conference, Aging Research for Drug Discovery, originally in Basel in Switzerland, 10 years, or now 11 years ago, and started bringing together small groups of big pharmaceutical companies, academics, startups, some investors. We started with 80 people, so a small community, but Basel is a very special city. That's where it's a city in Switzerland where two of the largest pharmaceutical companies are headquartered, Roche and Novartis, on different sides of the river. And it's a very tiny place with massive number of life science professionals, with a great congress center. So we started organizing those meetings there. The first one was very successful. The second one got bigger. Then more pharmaceutical companies learned about this meeting and started attending, realized that many chronic diseases associated with aging become much more transparent and explorable when you talk to the aging researchers working on core fundamental understanding of aging biology. And some of the drugs like, GLP-1s that are used for obesity and metabolic diseases, and many other drugs like that also affect the aging processes, and aging affects metabolism. So there's a feedback loop. They started talking, they started co-publishing, forming partnerships, and the conference became very popular. Then in 2019, I met a wonderful scientist and also a medical doctor. So one of a very unique combination of science and medicine, Morten Scheibe-Knudsen, the head of the biology lab, aging biology lab at the University of Copenhagen. And he took over this conference and brought it to Copenhagen, to Denmark. And that was very prophetic because in 2020, we'll all know that COVID hit and Denmark remained open. So the conference stayed open even during pandemic. And it's in a very beautiful castle-like structure. So it's the Grand Hall of the University of Copenhagen. It's a non-profit conference. And Dr. Knudsen, Scheibe-Knudsen, did such a great job that the conference expanded and exploded. So that Grand Hall can host around 700 people. And with an additional tent, it can hold another 300. So now the conference is overbooked every year because thousands of scientists from all over the world want to participate. So now we, of course, provide online participation as well. So thousands of people, last year it was over 6,000, participated online. However, on site, it's a vibrant community, really amazing atmosphere, 5-day event, and very balanced. So we get really top people from pharma, usually outstanding academics that published in top peer-reviewed journals throughout the year. So you actually have to be really on the top of your game to get to this conference. And then we have over 50 startups that go there, and many of them also sponsor the conference. So it's run by volunteers. I also volunteer my time. I donate a lot of money, my personal money, to this conference, and Insilico is sponsoring. But also many startups are sponsoring the conference and presenting their work, and that also shows investors that some of those startups are alive, right? So basically, if they sponsor, usually it means that they're alive and kicking and growing, and are in touch with top academics, and investors started coming there. So it became, I think, the world's largest conference on aging research and drug discovery currently. And this year we sold out over a month in advance before it started.
Wow, I wish I could go next time then.
For journalists, we could make an exception and get a ticket, yeah.
Oh, really? That's very nice of you. Yeah, so how do you enjoy your career both as a scientific leader and a business leader?
Well, I'm enjoying it immensely. So if I had the choice of doing something else, even comfortable retirement, I would never do that. I travel all the time. I work, sometimes 20-hour days, no weekends. I don't take vacations, but nothing gives me greater pleasure. So basically, when you are in love with your job, you're constantly on vacation. At the same time, I'm deeply frustrated with the slow progress in this industry, because when I joined the biotechnology field more than 20 years ago, and more than 20 years on aging research, I kind of thought that, next 5 years, next 10 years, there will be major breakthroughs that will change human lives beyond recognition, and we're going to see life-saving therapeutics. However, despite the major progress in science technology, it didn't happen. And now I realize that, if we don't make it happen as a team at Insilico, nobody is going to do it for us. So we have to be at the forefront. And once you're at the forefront and the ship is still moving slowly, is deeply frustrating. So you are looking for additional ways to accelerate. And I think that most people just don't recognize the importance of this problem. They prefer to talk about things that are not important rather than think about problems that are very difficult but very important. That's how human mind works. And for me, from one perspective, I really love it. From another perspective, sometimes I wish I was born, a couple decades later. So, um, because you need more time.
Wow. I'm very impressed by your vision and your courage. So could you tell us what's your call of message, like a call of action for us, as to our audience?
Well, my call to action would be, think about what's most important in life. Is it, who wins the elections? Is it who is louder and more popular? Is it some goods that you really don't need, and you work very hard to get those goods? Or it is, living longer, seeing more life, and ensuring that you can contribute to a healthier and greener planet. That is a very complicated problem, but we can solve it together. And even if you're not a scientist, you can still contribute. You can contribute by learning, by disseminating the knowledge, by investing in this area, by incentivizing other people to go into this area. And I think that there is nothing more important than studying aging at its core in order to be able to stop many of the diseases from forming, right? Because once you already have a disease, you're trying to solve a burning fire, but preventing the fire, that's what we all need to focus on. And imagine the world where you not only solve aging, but also can step on the path of continuous improvement and continuously improve both physically and mentally as you age. You actually don't need to associate aging with frailty. And I think it is possible within our lifetime. So now I am a little bit less optimistic because I see that the problem is a little bit more difficult than I previously thought. And also there are very few people seriously working on that. Even those that are talking about that very loudly often do not believe that they can achieve success, and they just do it for the purpose of making money or being famous or some other goals. I think that it's extremely important to focus on this problem, and my call to action is just focus on aging. There is nothing more important than that.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I started this show.